I'll restate it.
Because
And
I
if you
like to
don't
get
mind,
this
we
kind of
can,
stuff transcribed.
right, especially since we off this, like this takes us to the next level, right? So have we started?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna run that back. Tell me about your issues with tilapia.
The fact that it's geo manipulated, it's manipulated with the genetics. I don't like it being, kind of man made without nature being involved, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So the the word on the streets is that it's created in a laboratory, is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, at least here.
And so if you attend a fish fry in the South, you discourage your folks from eating tilapia, right?
Yes, we generally stay away from it. I don't know anybody that
Stay away
eats
from it, and you encourage a different type of fish, right?
something
Okay.
wild caught preferred.
Uh-huh. That's wonderful. How long have you been conscious of that?
Well, a few years now, at least 3 years.
Okay. So that's what's up, right? And you are absolutely right about that, to a degree, right? So before I talk about tilapia, and it's one of the subjects I like most because as a fish farmer, as someone who practices aquaponics and utilizes that particular species, I'll give you the reasons why. But first, I want to make an analogy. So you and I both partake in the herb, right? Like it says in the Bible to do, right?
Right.
And we can quote that on another show, but there's 3 or 4 passages in scriptures in that Bible that talks about that. But you and I partake in the herb, and there's several reasons why. I want to hear your reasons. Why do you enjoy cannabis?
I do it for communion. I do it for a way of self-reflecting. It definitely introduces me and puts me in direct communion with my higher self, which I understand to be God. And I'm
Righteous.
able to, I'm able to, in my mind, I'm accelerating my path of development. I'm accelerating by focusing my energy more on the intangibles, the spirit world, so to speak, focusing on what the spirit world has to do with my physical world.
That's so profound and so dope. Give thanks. It's a great explanation. And I would say the same for me, but I probably couldn't articulate it that well. Let me ask you another question. Why do you think up until 2008, 9, 10, and still in some states, cannabis has been banned and they've told you to stay away from it? You know, it's a gateway drug. Makes you a junkie, makes you a loser. You're never going to do anything with your life. And you don't want to be on a corner, you know, whatever. Why do you think it's such a negative connotation? Folks trying their best to keep you away from it.
I think it has a lot to do with 2 things. The most important thing, or the most profound thing, I think, or the most prevalent thing would be them not wanting to, I should say on a higher level, not wanting us to ascend, not wanting us to figure out that we are naturally free because we are naturally energetic beings. We just have a dense form. They don't want us to learn how to express ourselves. For real, like on different levels. And so, but then I also feel like people want us to stay away from it because it's kind of like a conditioning thing, like an ignorance thing. You know, they don't necessarily know all of the plot against us. You know, they don't necessarily know that, you know, they're just thinking that it's a low moral thing because they've been affected by propaganda and everything else. You know, it's basically ignorance.
Okay. So essentially, it's understood on that level that this particular plan allows you to achieve your highest self and achieve a level of spirituality that, you know, could kind of free your mind.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the system kind of wants to prevent you from doing that because once you free your mind, you're no longer a pawn in the system, right? On so many levels. Okay. That's definitely a reason. Little to do with health, right? Little to do with anything health related, bad for your health, etc. Right?
Correct.
That's what they'll claim, but you know we know that there's other than you know combustion in your lungs, right? Other than that, everything else about it is absolutely beneficial. It's been proven over and over and over. However, so, okay, the reason I asked you that is I want to add to that, first of all, right? So, of course, preventing you from achieving your highest self, having spiritual experiences, having visions, and having messages sent to you from the Most High, from your ancestors, from the universe, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. That's a huge, huge, huge reason. Just as equally large and as heavy as that justification or that reasoning is because you can grow it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So in a country, um, in a corporation known as the United States of America, where trillions of dollars are being earned via the pharmacy, via the laboratory, which connects back to some plant that was synthesized by Harvard, MIT, Yale, whatever, right? Based off some Bushman's recipe, some indigenous person, and their use of plants, their million-year culture of using plants as medicine. Um, it's now monetized and corporatized, right? So if the country depends on selling you pills to maintain your sickness, but keep you well enough to work and exchange your energy and consume and purchase and buy, uh, by the trillions, why would it be cool for you to grow your own plant in your backyard to uh, really heal yourself and advance yourself and grow, and save that dollar? So just as equal as, it being a drug or something negative or harmful to your system, whatever justification they have for demonizing the plant, you know, the ability for you to grow it yourself in 90 days in your backyard in one pot of soil and free your mind without having to plug into that pharmaceutical system and that consumer system and that doctor, that healthcare system. It's it's unbelievable. So
Mm-hmm.
when we compare that to tilapia, and that was kind of a long explanation, but when we compare that to tilapia, I encourage you to look at it the same way. Yes, of course, you're correct. The fish is farm raised.
Mm-hmm.
That alone doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what species it is. That alone is a red flag. That alone is something for you to take caution to. If it's, whiting or catfish or tilapia or trout or bass or perch, if it's commercially farm raised on a grand scale, that's one of the first things I look at if I were to go to the grocery store and buy fish. Um, the second thing, right? So you named genetically modified, you named laboratory. That's just a trendy way to demonize it once again, right? Uh, Laboratory. I mean, unless they're cloning, fish or reproducing, DNA cells from fish eggs or whatever, creating a laboratory fish is not a sustainable and a profitable situation, right? The science and the research behind it could be, but actually creating a product and putting it on the market, that's not realistic. That farm fish, chances are it comes from Indonesia, it comes from China, it comes from Japan, it comes from Philippines, it comes from way across the world, right? And it's on the label. All you got to do is read it. So I raise tilapia, right? I contain them in a controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
I maintain a ratio that keeps everything sustainable, right? So for me, the formula is one fish per every 10 gallons of water.
Mm-hmm.
The book says one for every 5 gallons of water. I go 10. So if I have a 300-gallon reservoir, that means I got 30 fish, right? And that keeps them socially distant, if you will, right? They're not hopping over each other. Go to Indonesia or Philippines and you see a fish farm, a tilapia farm, you're going to have thousands and thousands of fish in a small environment. They're hopping over each other. They're right on top of each other, right? So naturally, bacteria and infection is going to build. The farmer understands that. He understands you don't understand that. So how does he fight that? He injects antibiotics in the system, right? So now you got a bunch of antibiotics fighting off the infection of the fish because they're overcrowded, overpopulated. Well, what do the antibiotics do? They're going to turn that meat gray and nasty, right? So now he knows that that gray meat is not going to be visually appealing to you as you're walking through that grocery store. So that grocery store is not going to buy it from you. So now you got to inject color, right? So you inject the pink and the red. That's why when you go see some of that farm raised salmon, it's like super, super saturated red. That's dye, right? So now you got antibiotics, you got infection, you got dye. Uh, Again, this is a system, and this is a system that's based off of that dollar, right? So now you want to get that product as fast as possible. You want that meat to grow as fast as possible. Now you're going to inject the steroid, right? So that meat swells up. That's how we have these giant pieces of chicken, of fish. So you got steroid, you got antibiotic, you got bacteria and infection, you have dye. You know, that alone lets you know to stay away from that farm raised fish. So you want to look at the distance. If a fish has to go 5,000 miles from where it's, you know, farmed to your grocery store in Atlanta, Georgia, that's a long flight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that meat is deteriorating by the second. It's not fresh. It's losing its oxygen. It's losing its chlorophyll. It's losing its melanin. It's losing all of its nutrients that are transferring to you. Mm-hmm. So by the time it gets to you, it's shot up with a bunch of chemicals, and it ain't worth nothing. So that's the real science behind why you shouldn't, you know, you should look for wild caught fish and stay away from commercially farmed fish. But it ain't about the species. It's like saying all black people are whatever, all Jewish people are whatever.
I understand that.
It's nothing to do with the species. There's no such thing as a bad species. You know, I have pit bulls, right? I got 2 pit bulls because I want to be an ambassador to show you that these dogs are not killer, devil dogs that are snatch your kid and snatch your dog and whatever. They're sweethearts. It's all about what you do, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing in what you eat. You know, tilapia isn't born with all these negative properties. I get about 4 to 8 pounds per fish. You know, I'll send you photos and videos, gigantic fish that can feed my family for a whole week. But the thing is, I'm controlling it the whole way. So from a fish fry this big, you know, to a fingerling, to a juvenile, to a mature fish, you know, that's going to take about a year. And in that year, I'm feeding it duckweed, I'm feeding it black soldier fly larvae, organic fish feed, you know, chopped up kale and spinach and etc. Right? I'm changing that water every 60 days or so. Right? I'm always testing it, making sure the pH is proper. At the same time, that water is feeding the plants, and I'm harvesting those tomatoes, harvesting those cucumbers, harvesting those watermelon that the fish are growing. Right? So now, not only am I getting protein in the form of fish, right? I'm also getting tomatoes, peppers, watermelon, cucumber, cantaloupe, strawberries, bok choy, lettuce, kale, all in one 12 by 12 system environment. So I'm looking in your backyard right now, or your front yard. Look at all that space you got.
I got 12 by 12.
You got 12 by 12, you feel me? So, and you know, we've designed it. I have a 3D rendering. I have plenty of those systems already created. It just is what it is, man. It's the science, and the second you get into it, now your mind is becoming more free, right? Just like you smoke that herb, your mind becomes free. And so, you know, Babylon is an evil system, man, and they'll put out a message keeping you away from what you need to be closest to. You feel me? So when I hear people say, "Oh, stay away from tilapia," "Oh, it's a, you know, it's a chemical fish or laboratory fish or genetically modified fish or whatever," I hear you, feel you, but let's talk about it. Let's choose these terms and choose these words with impeccability, because it means so much. You can feed your whole family from your yard. That takes you out of that grocery store. That takes you out of that hospital. That takes you out of that pharmacy. That takes you off of the road and out that gas station.
I got a question.
You know, feel me?
For you.
So now you're free.
I agree. I have a question for you, because in my mind, when we have new norms that we need to accept,
Yep.
the first thing that I understand about programming is that we need to work on normalizing
Mm,
to make it a new norm. You see what I mean?
of
Because if
course.
we're at a place in society where things are falling apart and our systems of provision are no longer there, then of course, on a global scale, it's not there, but that doesn't mean it can't be there individually or communally. Um,
Mm,
and so, we like to talk about systems and stuff like that. That's why I was talking to you about you and your friends because things have a tendency to catch on when they work, and so
righteous.
you've got systems already created that just honestly at this point you're at the place where it just needs to be normalized. And
Mm.
the best way to normalize anything is through propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You nailed it. You nailed it. But the problem is, it has been normalized, just not by
It's
our
got to be.
community, right?
Yeah.
So now we're at the point to where you got to let all these brothers out of jail for having an ounce or less of
Yes.
cannabis on them over the last 20 years, 30 years. All these brothers that
I
got
wonder
hit
what's
by the
taking so long for that because I know we've
three
been.
strikes you're out. You know what I mean? Three strikes you're out. Slick Willie Clinton rolled it out right before our eyes, and it's a lot of brothers in jail. On the flip side, it's a lot of folks who consider themselves and classify themselves as white who are running the cannabis industry to the trillions. So on one side, you're locked up and you're demonized and your life is over. And on the other side, trillions and trillions of dollars are being made. We call
Mm,
that a transfer of wealth. In
mm,
100 years, your science, your product, your gateway to the spiritual realm has been taken from you, has been trademarked, copywritten, patented, and cashed out, and you've been locked up and your life has been destroyed. So that system
mm,
has been repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? So
mm.
brother Ron Finley in LA, you know, one of my partners and done a lot of work with him, and he's one of the cats that made real change by putting himself on the line, right? So it was illegal for you to plant a seed and grow food in your parkway. Uh,
Mm,
that's a little strip of grass right in front of your house. So I'm looking out your window, that little strip right there, where you
mm,
park your car. It was
mm,
illegal for you to grow food. Well, Ron did his work, and he took those fines and took those penalties on the chin and spoke in front of the council and got that overturned and got that law rewritten,
mm.
right? So he put himself on the line for that. So now you can. Now you can grow your food on the parkway, and that's just an example, right? So it's things like that. For me, if I
That's
were to I need a license in certain cities to do what I do, right? That's why I'm in the mountains right now on this land, perfecting these systems, because
mm,
uh, I'd have to have a license and pay 150K, 200K to these organizations, right? These
mm.
acronyms, right? The Department of XYZ
Oh,
to do my work. And that systematically keeps us out of the game and off the playing field and keeps them right in the pocket, right? So
mm,
that access.
mm,
But I can
mm,
learn the systems here and then go back home and apply them. So aquaponic system in a 12 by 12 environment, everybody should have that in their backyard. Everybody should grow, their own, raise their own fish and grow their own fruits and veggies and eat from them in a sustainable environment. You should also, everyone should be able to teach their kids how to do that. That ensures the next generation is already free by default at the start,
uh,
you know?
question. If you
Yeah.
were able to get around that licensing process here, what would you do?
In like Atlanta?
Here, wherever you want to in America.
The first thing I would do is scale it up on a larger scale. I would create and further our curriculum around it.
Mm-hmm.
I would sell the products that come from it, at wholesale cost to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I would build said system in every backyard in America that I could possibly build it in.
Okay, because I'm gonna tell you this. There's a group. Um, on Facebook. These people are, man, I have to. I love to give thanks, like you say, for the human brain, because these people in this Facebook group are law experts. They will teach
Mm,
you in this place, in this Facebook group, that there's a difference between the law and what is legal. The
mm,
legal world and legal language is different than the law. And
mm-hmm,
you know what I'm saying? So, because the law is a spiritual science,
mm,
the legal system that they've created on top of that is a fiction.
mm, mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, what these people are basically telling you is that you can operate outside of legalities if you know how to
Gotcha.
operate within the law. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
basically, the whole point is you have to be aware of the fact that you can step to the state in a certain way to let them know you're aware of the fact that you don't need a license to express natural law, which is for you to feed yourself and
Mm.
to do whatever you need to do to feed yourself. Um,
Archie.
Now, if you have the legal understanding of how to do that, then you can do it. But that's the difference between, like I said, they say if you want to hide something from a nigga, where you got to put it. You put it in a book. There's no way, but that's the one reason why I love these people in this group, because they will, if you just put the question in there, and I'll do it for you, and I'm going to invite you to the group. Are you on Facebook at all?
I represent a few different Facebook um, business pages and manage them and maintain them, like e-commerce stuff. But
Okay.
and I have a personal profile, of course. It's the same as IG, but
Okay.
I haven't contributed
Well,
in a while. But I'm around.
the only way I know to introduce, well, I do have the girl's phone number. So if you
It's the
want to
same.
meet her,
It's,
uh,
it's, it's the same. It's the same IG as IG. It's the same Nick neighbor.
okay.
So uh, and then there's plenty of aquaponic photos and videos on there. You can see what it's all about. As
Okay.
a matter of
So,
fact, I just got a text. Actually, I logged into IG and it was like, your video has been deleted. It was from years ago, where I dropped off like 10 to 20 pounds of tilapia at one of our local black-owned restaurants, Simply Wholesome. And it's interesting. It's just funny. And we're having this conversation, and it literally just blocked that and removed that video from years ago today,
mm,
because there was some music in the background, some Damian Marley music in the background.
oh, that's
And
terrible.
yeah,
These
so
people are ridiculous. But let me tell you something. All of that stuff is getting ready to come to an end. I can't wait, because this platform there, I just got a message today about my platform. The developer said we're getting ready to launch our MVP, which is basically the beta testing for the app. So I'm going to give that access to you to become a beta tester if you wish. And I'm going to ask you to invite all your friends that I was telling you about. I will train you guys on how to use the system so that you can start building on top of this infrastructure. Building on top of this foundation. And like I said to you earlier, the only thing I would be looking for you all to do is to just follow the system and use the branding. That way, as we build on it, then you all become a part of one system. That way, your resources are the first to be demanded by the people we draw into the system. Um, and so that'll put you basically as, like a priority. You'll be basically like the people who supply all the stuff for everybody.
gotcha.
The more we diversify and add resources to the platform, the more you will be able to expand and acquire other things. And what we're looking to do is to teach businesses, people like yourself who already have systems created, where you can acquire other people, other companies that are looking to do what you're doing, and you all become one unified effort to serve the same mission, because you would be doing the same things individually anyway. So you might as well join
Mm.
forces, join your resources, and become a part of one system that serves the same purpose, which is us, Black folk.
Community information system,
Serve
and
us.
really take a look and then share with my people. I got a couple more of these calls today. As soon as the brother hits me back, that'll be the first one. Then I got one this afternoon. Well, it's 9:30. But yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to further discuss the topic that we had planned to discuss, we can set that up for another day in the near future. But until then, I'm going to be launching this e-commerce platform, so I'm going to be just working around the clock for the next 2 days, and just send me the information that you're talking about, and I'll share with my people, and we'll take a look.
Okay, I sent you a link of the interest meeting. It said missing link in the subject line.
Okay.
So if you click on that link, it'll take you to the basically where you can RSVP to attend the informational meeting. I'm going to be doing a professional recording of this meeting with stakeholders, people who
Okay.
are taking interest in the project. And so I'll invite you and anybody who has serious interest from our community. And you can send the invitation to whoever you want, but just let them know that it is a private meeting for people who have serious interest, not to just share it publicly.
I got you. No
Um,
problem.
yeah, so that's it. Yeah, I'll send you another email with that, and we'll schedule maybe for Thursday, I think you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'll
Thursdays are
send you some.
good. Sundays are good. Mondays are good. Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays. Yeah.
Maybe Monday. Maybe Monday because that'll give you more time, and also that's the day I normally go live anyway. So we can just
Righteous.
we can do a recording, and that'll serve as my live for the day.
What you got to do. Give thanks for your spirit. Keep up the good work. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Same to you, brother. Peace.
Peace.